Okay, so today what we're going to do is a nice coral fresh look on our model here, Kathleen. So to start with, what I'm going to do is prep and prime the skin using some moisturisers. So, if you just look up for me, Kathleen. It's really important to always have your skin prepped and primed before your big day. Okay, so what you want to do is massage the balm into the face, all over. Make sure that's on. Another good tip to smooth out the skin is to use a primer, a pea-sized amount. Rub that into your hands as well. I'm using a hydrating one for Kathleen, because it's always important, you don't want to touch up as much on your wedding day. So it'll stay on longer for you. Okay, so one of the most important things is the eye being bright underneath. So what I'm going to quickly do is just lighten up under Kathleen's eyes for her. And what I'm using is a corrector to neutralise any darker tones underneath the eye. And just press that in with your finger. After you've corrected the colour, what you want to do is then go in with concealer. Pop a little bit of concealer on top, just to neutralise that pinker tone of corrector that we popped on first underneath. This is probably one of the most important parts of your makeup, making sure it's nice and bright underneath the eye. So I'm then going to use some foundation. I'm using stick foundation as it's quite good for flashback photography. It has a good coverage, cover any blemishes you may have due to stress leading up to the wedding. And just massaging that in. You can use a foundation brush as well to apply this in, but I sometimes feel it's quite good to massage it into the balm-based moisturiser. So after you've put your foundation on, what I always would recommend is, especially down the T-zone, although we want this to be a nice dewy look, is to really powder. So first of all, once you're happy with the coverage under your eye, look up for me, Kathleen, is just use a tiny bit of powder just to lightly dust that underneath, which will help keep it on longer and stop any foundation line creasing. And again, I'm going to use touch of powder just down Kathleen's forehead, pushing the brush to where the shine may occur. Now for brides out there that are going for a tan, it's always important to use a bronzer to colour correct. So from looking at the chest area, you can see Kathleen's area is a wee bit warmer, so what we want to do is bring that up here. And an important way to do it is just pull it round the hairline. And if you're wearing your hair up, always take the bronzer over the ear as well, and perhaps just up under the neck area. Dab off any excess on your wrist, so you can see that that all flows nicely together and we have one colour here. Now for Kathleen's cheeks, for a dewier finish, I'm going to use a cream blusher. You can use these on the lips and cheeks. You can use these with your fingers, but I always prefer to do it with a foundation brush. And a good tip is always to remember 2 fingers away from the nose and start your blusher about here. So if you can just smile for me, Kathleen. And brush the strokes up towards the ear, down to the lobe, in a kind of triangle shape to get a soft finish. So for Kathleen's lip, what I'm going to use is a nice soft coral on the lip. And I always like to mix colours together, so I'm going to mix 2 colours together just to give me the finish that I'm looking for. When applying your lipstick on your wedding day, I would always recommend you use a brush just to get the definition round the lip accurate. I to finish this lip off, I'm going to use a slight bit of coral lip gloss just in the centre of Kathleen's lip, just to give more of a glow. This looks really pretty in your photographs as well. Now on Kathleen's eyes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a matte long wear cream shadow. These are great just to neutralise the lid, and they're long wearing as well, so you shouldn't have to touch up throughout the day. Most cream shadows dry waterproof as well, so it's always a good idea. And I'm just going to take this a wee bit higher than the crease. Using quite a big brush, what I'm going to do now is under the brow, tap off your excess, but under the brow, push a matte colour lighter underneath to help lift. And just press that in and blend it out. Then going to use a smaller size brush and a champagne colour just to complement the soft corals we've got going on the cheeks and lips, just from the inner bit of the eye right to the centre. And the same on the other side. Then I'm going to take a nice bronzy gold colour. Again, tap off the excess. And if you open your eyes, Kathleen, look down for me a tiny bit. I'm just going to work this in the socket and along the lash line. And blend that in. Now is fine getting your big brush that you used under the brow just to help to blend underneath, so there's no mark between the colours. Just helps soften the look for you. So for eyeliner, I'm going to use a gel. I sometimes feel you're more in control with the gel rather than a liquid. It's completely preference. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push the brush into the lashes all the way along using small strokes rather than drawing a line. And Kathleen, if you just look straight ahead at me, I'm going to use her waterline of her lower lashes as a guideline as to where my marker would end. And close your eyes again and match that into the line I've already just drawn. And look down for me. I always think it's important to get right from each side of the eye, so just make sure you push into more of those awkward areas as well. And again this side. Again pushing the brush all the way into the lashes, all the way along to begin with. Just because if you don't have it as close to the lash line and with a gap, the lashes won't appear as thick and the liner won't look as great. And look ahead straight at me. Down a bit. Just get my marker again. Another option of what you can do is, if you want it a wee bit smokier underneath, you can always take the gold or shadow you've just used, tap off the excess, and with a smaller brush, pull the colour along under the eye. If you want it again softer, a wee bit on top with the liner, another option is to use a darker shadow. Close your eye. And just softly smoke, pull the brush along the line. Any excess that falls, use a small brush, just clear it underneath. So it's nice and clean. I'm now going to move on to Kathleen's eyebrows. And what's important about finishing off a makeup doing the eyebrows is it'll give a feature to your face more and lift. So I'm pulling an eyeshadow colour through. You can use pencils, whichever you prefer. Personally, I prefer using a comb as I feel it looks a wee bit more natural. And it'll just add that little bit more definition. So once you're ready to go, I would always recommend using a waterproof mascara, as you never know if you'll get tearful. And if you look down to your knees for me, I would always apply 2 to 3 coats just before you're ready to go. Right in the cheekbone area. Don't go mad with the shimmer. So there we have it, a fresh, dewy coral bridal look.